So what we're looking here is, as you can see, is 1 Corinthians 13:13, which I'm not even going to go into the numbers, but that's awesome. I'd really never noticed it as 13:13. But anyway, now, however, abide faith, hope, love, these three things. The greatest, however, of these is love. So we're looking at the Greek, and was curious on these words, faith, hope, and love. And it says the greatest is love. And I used to come to the conclusion that why love was the greatest is because eventually there's not going to be any need of faith and hope, which could partially be correct. But I've kind of come to another conclusion. I don't know that love don't do away with faith and hope. It actually includes faith and hope. It's like faith and hope is binded together with this greater aspect of what it means to love. And the word here used for love in the Greek is agape. And we'll just pull it up here. Agape is it's properly love, which centers in moral preferences to secular ancient Greek. It typically refers to a divine love. Let's go back. So the word for faith is pistis. And of course, it be belief, trust, confidence, fidelity, faithfulness. Let's go back. And the word for hope is to anticipate welcome, and it's a properly expectation of what is sure and hopeful. So hope is to anticipate a welcome of something coming through, and just look at their definitions, and I'll share them with you right now. The first word here is faith, and this is in Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 20. And it speaks, and he said, I will hide my face from them, and I will see their end. I will see what their end shall be, for they are very forward generation, children in whom is no faith. And so if we pull it on down here to faith, we see is emun. And it's faithfulness or trusting. And it comes from this root, aman, which means to believe, assurance, faithful, sure. It's to support, confirm, be faithful, uphold, or nourish. It's to establish or be faithful, be carried, make firm. To stand firm, to trust, to be certain, or to believe in. Trust and believe. So it's something that is trusty, and it's something that it supports. So it confirms is to have faith, and that's the word actually where we get the word amen. Here's the word for hope in the Hebrew, and there's actually, well, there might be more, but there's two words that I know of that could be used for hope in the Hebrew, and we're going to look at it here in Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 7. It says, blessed is the man that trusts in the Lord, and whose hope the Lord is. So if we go to the word for hope, where it's translated as hope, we see this word here, mebatak. So if we pull up this word, it's trust, confidence, or refuge. So hope in this sense of the word is to trust, and it's active confiding. So what faith is something that we're faithful, or we're looking forward to, but we can't see it, but we have faith in it. Hope is something that we have confidence it will come about. So hope is more of a action, if you will. It's something that we do, and we'll look at it here, if we look at the root, it's a verb, it's an action, and it's to trust. So it's interesting that the word hope here is to trust, but I find it, let me go back and I'll just share this with you. I find it kind of interesting in this verse. It says, blessed is the man that trusteth, batak. And I don't know if you can see the word right here, but batak. This is the same word as this, to trust. So let's look at it. To trust. So hope is to have a surety, or to have confidence, or to trust. Used for hope, we see it here in Ruth chapter 1 verse 12, where Naomi tells Ruth, he says, turn again, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should have a husband also tonight, and should also bear sons. So basically, that's the King James Version. So she's telling her daughter-in-laws to turn back because both their husbands had died, and she said she's basically too old to bear any more sons. But we see the word hope. I have hope if I should. Actually, that word italicized means it wasn't in the original, but I have hope I should have a husband. So and should also bear sons. So anyway, let me go down here and look at the word for hope. Tikva. Pull it up. It's a hope or expectation. It's ground of hope, things hoped for an outcome. So this is more of a hope, like we've seen. The batak is something that we trust is going to take place. This hope is more of expectation. But if one expects something to happen, would not one wait for it to take place? And this we find is what the Apostle Paul actually says in the book of Romans, and we'll share that with you. That let's just go over here and we'll show you. Let me pull it up here, and this is just looking at the King James. Sorry. Let's go back. So right here, King James Version. But if we hope for that we see not, then do with patience wait for it. So this word hope, if we hope for something, do we not with patience wait for it? So if we're with patience waiting for it, would not we also live today as though it has already taken place? And I think that's the whole meaning that the Apostle Paul here is trying to get in the book of Romans, or trying to book of Romans. If you hope for something, don't you live like you hope for it, like it's already happened, like it's happening now? That's faith and hope coming together to produce one outcome. And that outcome is, in my opinion or viewpoint, is love, charity, which charity envelopes or charity is, don't do away with faith and hope, but it includes faith and hope. Is the word, we see the word charity in the King James verses, faith, hope, and charity. Some translations translate it as love. The word in the Greek, as I shared with you, is agape, which is more of a divine type of love. But I wanted to share with you, if we go back to Genesis chapter 15, verse 6, where it says, and he believed in the Lord, and it counted to him for righteousness. This has to do with Abraham believing God, and because he believed, it was counted to him for righteousness. So if we see the word here for believe, it's that word aman, which we get the word amen, which means faithful, to have faith. So it's seen for something, but this faith also would include hope. It's not just a faith that he wouldn't have hoped for, but he expected it to happen. That's what it So if he expected it to happen, he was living as though it had already happened. That's what's interesting, I think, about faith and hope. But what I wanted to share with you with this word tzadikah, righteousness, because it's through the faith in Jesus Christ, or in the Hebrew as we know as Yeshua, the Messiah. It says that through this faith that we have received the righteousness of God. So, and this word righteousness is tzadikah, which is interesting. I want to share with you this word. If we pull it up here in the Strong's Concordance, it says a righteousness of God's attribute. Okay, and it's righteousness, it's truthfulness. So, and it's also interesting, it's salvation. But if I look at it in what we would call, if we done a Google, tzadikah, I don't know if you can see that there. Let me go back here. And this word tzadikah, it's right here. And if we go back over here, and this is Google, but in modern Hebrew, tzadikah actually means charity. It's like they have tzadikah boxes where they give charity to people. It's to give. So charity, and anybody that thinks of charity, it takes a whole lot of love to be a charitable person. So tzadikah, charity. So if we go back to this tzadikah, see, charity. That the Apostle Paul says for the entire law, the whole law, in one word is fulfilled. In this, you shall love the neighbor of you as yourself, or you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So the Apostle Paul says the whole law is fulfilled, and this is the same thing that Jesus said, that the whole law is fulfilled in one. The whole law hinges upon this commandment: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So he says it's fulfilled in one word, that you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So we want to look at this word agapesis. I don't know if I hope I pronounced it right, but that's you shall love. Let's just look at it. It's a verb, agapeo, which comes from agape, but this is agapeo. And this is I love, wish well, or take pleasure in, or long for. And it's interesting down here, if we look at the word study, it says embracing God's will, choosing his choices, and obeying them through his power. So that's pretty awesome if you ask me. Agape is something to long for. So that would include hope, and that would include faith. It's interesting. That's awesome. But if we go over to, let me go back here. If we go over to the next chapter in Galatians, we find that Paul says, bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ, to fulfill the law of Messiah. So you have the whole law, which Paul would have been talking about the Torah, as Jesus was, upon these two commandments, to love God and love your neighbor as yourself, hinges all the law and the prophets. So Paul, in that verse, to love thy neighbor as thyself, the whole law is fulfilled in that commandment. But now he goes in the next verse, he's talking about a different law. It's not a different law, but it basically elevates, takes it to a whole new level, in my view. He says to bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. So let's look. Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Messiah, the law of Christ. So if we look at the word for bear, what is to bear? Bear is a verb, and it means to take up or to carry. And when I seen this, I kind of thought about Jesus said, "Take up your cross and follow me." That's interesting. That means to bear. So let us go back, and one another's, and let's look at the word burdens, because I'm a word guy. I believe words matter. Baros, burden. It's weight, it's heaviness, weight, burden, or trouble. So it's something that is heavy that we take upon. And Paul says that we would bear one another's burden, and we fulfill the law of Messiah. So what does it mean to bear one another's burdens, to bear another's trouble? Could it possibly mean this is that we would well, if we go back and we look at the prior verse, it says, "Brethren, if any man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest you are also tempted." So if someone is overtaken in a fault, should we not bear that person's trouble, just as Jesus or Yeshua bared our sins on the cross? And this is the greatest of all love, Zadikah, the righteousness of God. Anyway, I hope this inspires somebody to do their own research and just to look things up and remember, words matter. I heard that from a friend, and I don't know, I kind of like it. Words do matter. So anyway, God bless you.